this peaceful electricity. It's the most vibrant, fantastic, magical peace of quiet and space and nothingness and everything all at once. No time, no place, no space. It's all of it, everything all at once. And it's peaceful. It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful place.
With metal tracks type of 15,000-pound machine. And I tried to jump on it to stop it, and I failed and got ran over and crushed and broke 38 bones on my face, my skull, all throughout my entire body. And then an eyeball came out of my head and all these type of things. And then I had to struggle to breathe for a while and then stop breathing.
They give me the ones no one can close. This one keeps reopening. The body stops. The witness does not. Every one of them was dead, not dreaming, not slipping under. Dead, pronounced. And they came back saying the same thing, that they left, that they watched. One of them described a thing she had no way to see, something small, on a ledge, above a window she was never near. Months later, a nurse who didn't believe her went and put up a ladder. I'll show you what was up there. Don't leave the room before I do.
It turns out that people who have near-death experiences, or NDEs, actually have better oxygen supply than people who don't have NDEs. So lack of oxygen isn't causing these. And likewise, people who are given drugs as they're approaching death tend to have fewer near-death experiences than people who aren't given drugs.
Near-death experiences are for real. About 45% of people having an NDE do indeed describe consciousness above their body. By the time I see that in thousands of experiences, you've got to go back to that core scientific principle that what is consistently observed is real. We have scores and scores of these out-of-body experiences where the consciousness can travel city blocks, observing ongoing earthly events, retaining that information of what they saw, almost invariably accurate down to the finest detail.
I searched thousands of first-hand accounts from people who were medically dead and came back. I compared the first moments after the body stopped. Different people, different beliefs. Same pattern. You will not believe what I found.
But there are millions out there, according to the Gallup poll and other research. Not all near-death experiences report all the same elements. Each one is unique in many ways, and yet they have these common percentage of overlapping elements. For instance, about 57% of near-death experiencers say they encounter deceased relatives on the other side. About 48% encounter this same God of light and love. 32% have a life review in this God's presence. Now, this is actually one of the things that convinced me of the veracity or the truthfulness of these claims.
I couldn't breathe in and out, and all of a sudden I saw the back of my head, and I realized I was a spirit. I realized I was separating from my body, and I started panicking. I started saying, no, 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 no.
I left my body, and I call it the white place. It was white all around. There were not really walls, but the floor was kind of radiating light.
But no, the real me, the essence, the spirit, the soul, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. I rose up and out of the river and just felt glorious is just not even the right word, but felt so glorious in this incredible lightness of being.
And I opened my eyes, and when I opened my eyes, I could only see, because my body's frozen, so I could only see from the corner of my eye. So I was hovering above the ground inches, and I could see the carpet, and the room is lit like a candle. That's how the room was lit, like a beautiful, soothing, like light candle.
I'm standing there and my body's falling to the floor in slow motion. I'm still standing there with my mind, all my earthly knowledge, my same personality, and I feel like me.
Like, really breathe. And it was the most incredible, exhilarating feeling. It was like, oh, this is me.
But rising continuously. And I can look down and see the bed of my truck, see my toolbox, and I'm stunned. I rise a little higher, and then something made me look up, instead of down because I could see the surrounding area. I could look through the back window of the truck. I could see my body sloped over the wheel.
Immediately, unexpectedly left my body, and I found myself 30, 40 feet up in the air looking down at my dead body. And I realized, as I watched everything happening, I felt really bad. I didn't want my sisters to see me die.
It was chaos. You know, people were running around and panicky, but things started to slow down and I started to process like, sorry.
It's okay.
This is not a good sign.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. And they loaded me up and they put me in the back of the ambulance. And when they did that, they shut the doors. And as soon as they shut the doors, boom, I'm over my body. And I realized pretty quickly, like, oh, that's me. This is happening.
The next thing after the impact of the crash, the next thing that happened to me was I was looking down at an airplane that had crashed. I had seen a body over here that was dead, and then there was another body inside the, basically squished into the instrument panel, and that was obviously me. I recognized my shirt, I recognized my hair, and I remembered that that's me, and I wasn't worried. I am not my body. There's my body, but here's me. I didn't feel worried, I didn't feel panicky, but I knew who I was.
Tell them, look, I have two bodies, but I couldn't wake them up. And so then after a while, I came back and I was looking at my body again. How this happened that I have two bodies?
Just like that, my spirit left my body and I went up into the roof of the garage right above, maybe 14, 15, 16 feet up above.
It's not just a matter of consciousness being over the body. I studied that. I've studied hundreds and looked for any possible error in their out-of-body observations. Me and other researchers that do that have a very high bar of evidentiality. If there's even one observation that's off from what reality would be, that kind of goes into the not real box. But even with that stringent criteria, I find 98% of these out-of-body experiences are describing things that appear to have no error either to the near-death experiencer or to myself.
Okay. If they're outside their body, what happened to the injuries?
When I left my body, it didn't hurt. And when I took that last breath, it was like, now I can really breathe, like really breathe.
And when my spirit left my body, I went from the absolute worst pain I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I experienced, it was a peace I've wanted my whole life. I felt it up there. It was just amazing. It was just this amazing peace. I don't know what to say.
And I realized, like, okay, I'm dying. My body's here. I'm not hurting.
It's such a weird feeling to feel so calm while you're experiencing so much pain, which is really confusing. And while nurses and doctors are shouting at each other, I could so vividly hear the voice to my left was so calm.
I felt so expanded, so limitless.
And I feel like I'm 20 years old again. I could move my arms and legs without debilitating pain. And I'm just looking out and enjoying how it felt to be healthy.
But I didn't experience any pain. And I thought, okay, well, I'm okay. So, all right.
I felt absolutely no pain. I felt an overwhelming calm that I can't even describe.
The injuries stayed on the table. The pain didn't. Whatever walked out traveled light.
I don't know if this is normal or not, but I watched every stitch that was put into my thumb. I watched the nurse go running out of the room saying that I killed him, and which was, I'm sure, put a lot of fear in her mind that what she did didn't work.
She's going to be brain dead. We need to do something.
And so then the orthopedic surgeon said, stand clear. So the 2 x-ray techs that were doing the CPR, they stepped back away from the table, and the orthopedic surgeon took 2 steps forward, took his fist from behind his back, arced it over his head, and pounded it into my chest. And I watched my body when that happened. I watched the whole thing from above, and my body kind of went like this and kind of jerked from the hitting of me, and I didn't go back into my body.
Awake, I was out. I wasn't, and I hadn't come out of my body fully yet. It was almost like a machine was shutting down, and I was toward the end of that process. And as soon as the doors opened, very shortly after that, I was above at the ceiling looking down at them working on me. Initially, I could see just a resuscitation effort. They were getting stuff prepared and all this stuff. And I could see a woman that really immediately held my attention. Was a woman in the back of the room. She was holding her face like this because she was really sad that I was dying. And that really bothered me. And like I wanted to figure out how I could tell her this, that this was beautiful and this was an amazing experience and the best feeling I've ever had. It was like waking up for the first time.
And he pulled his oxygen mask away from his face and he went, "You were the one? Me? Are you talking to me?" And he said, "Yeah, I saw you, nurse." He said, "I was watching everything that happened right from up there. Things weren't going really well, and then I heard you say, 'Let's go one more round.'" And I thought, okay, I have no choice but to believe everything he's saying. He told me details that nobody would really know unless they were observing what was going on in that room.
Seemed limitless to me as far as its space. And there was an oppressive nature to it. And I wonder if some of that being on the ventilator and the agitation that occurs in a patient, even in a coma from being on a ventilator, I wonder if I was kind of feeling that on that side, because as a nurse, it seems to me what people would describe.
The next thing I remember is my body, my spirit, not my body was in the ambulance, but my spirit was hovering in the ceiling tile. I'm in the porte-cochere of Parkland Hospital. I see emergency, I see, then my body, my spirit is hovering, and I look across there and I see the drop ceiling tiles. And I focus on it and I go, oh my God, that's me. That's me. And so they're rushing me out of that, and they're rushing me. I remember the 2 doors, the emergency room doors automatically opening, and I'm watching this like I had a down view of about 12 or 14 feet watching this. I can hear them chanting and scrambling to orders to get prepped for surgery. My spirit left those ceiling tiles and is like following, and I could hear him travailing and chasing after the gurney. So now I'm on this gurney. My head there's with my dad right here at my head, and my spirit goes back into my body, and I wake up on that gurney.
And she was in the hospital, and she had a patient whose heart stopped and recovered from that. But then the patient told Kimberly, "Gosh, while I had that consciousness apart from the body, I actually had my consciousness travel outside the walls of the hospital, but nearby my hospital room. And from that vantage point, I saw a shoe on the ledge." And she described the shoe on the ledge in terms of location, color, and the shoelace position. And Kimberly just had never heard of near-death experiences. No dang way. This was like up a floor, so it's not like you had any way to know that, even walking around the hospital grounds. So Kimberly, fascinated, got a ladder, and you know where this is headed. The shoe is exactly as that lady described, exactly that position, color, and the shoelace kind of oddly positioned sitting on the ledge of a hospital.
4 patterns, 1 order. They left the body. The pain let go. The mind sharpened. Then they described the room, the part anyone could check. Different lives, different emergencies, different beliefs. They didn't agree on everything. They agreed often enough to leave a shape in the record.
When I first started looking into near-death experiences back in the late 1970s, I assumed that there would be some physiological explanation for that. What I found over the decades was that the various simple explanations we could think of, like lack of oxygen, drugs given to the people, and so forth, don't pan out. The data do not support them. And furthermore, the phenomena of NDEs, of near-death experiences, seem to defy a simple materialistic explanation. When we first started presenting this material in medical conferences, there would be a polite silence in the audience. And now, in the 21st century, when we do this, it's rare that doctors don't stand up in the audience and say, let me share my experience with you. So it's pretty well accepted now that these are common experiences that people have all the time and that have profound effects. There's still, of course, a lot of controversy about what causes them, but not about the fact that they exist and are fairly common.
The oldest statement in this file is 2,000 years old. A man named Paul said he was caught up to the third heaven. Couldn't tell you if he went in the body or out of it. He stopped trying to explain it. Said he heard things there a man isn't permitted to repeat. Different century, same account. Same man walking back into a body too small for what he saw. The witnesses keep changing. The testimony doesn't.
I think humanity is closely related to what love is. I think humanity is beautiful in love. I think the human part of humanity gets a little dodgy, right? We get into like capitalism and all these other things and wars and all these type of things. But I think the basic pure fuel for humanity is love. Love is the only thing that you take with you when you die.
Medicine may name every piece of this someday. Naming a case isn't closing it. I opened this file expecting the record to fall apart. It didn't. I can't tell you what it means. That part was never mine to close. This was one file. There are others. File updated. Case not closed.